Time now for weather with Nebraska Extension Ag Climatologist and Market Journal Chief Meteorologist Al Dutcher. Al, if we're talking crops, then talking about the weather has got to be part of the conversation. What can we expect in the week ahead?
Well, Troy, we're now to that point of the game where we're getting into our reproductive period for our warm season crops. As of Monday, corn was basically above the 50% mark in terms of silking. Most of the silking that was left to occur really is over the northwestern one half of the state. We are starting to see some of the initial grain fill into the southeastern part of the state. We are seeing quite much of this crop, of the soybean crop, in the bloom stage, with the initial starting to set pods across portions of southeast and east central Nebraska. As we go forward, of course, we've been talking about this heat building in, and the fortunate thing is at least from the eastern Nebraska standpoint, the last couple of days were actually cooler than originally forecasted. But the heat has started to build into the region from the Panhandle, and we're going to be into this heat pattern for at least the next week. The question is, does it extend longer than that? And that's the big uncertainty going forward. So as we go to the upper air models, the first thing I'll draw your attention to is that we've got this big ridge in place, got a northwest flow over the Great Lakes with the Hudson Bay low, and basically most of the precipitation activity of any consequence is going to ride this channel. Now, the GFS model is showing the development of a surface low over central Kansas, but really it's a moisture-starved system. So most of the moisture that we see in terms of echoes, in terms of precipitation, is coming from the monsoon flow. We might get an isolated thunderstorm develop in the Panhandle, but overall it looks like a fairly dry process. There is a little wave as we go into tomorrow that's moved down the front side of this ridge that may induce a few isolated thunderstorms, particularly over Iowa and points to the east. You can see that they're trying to hint at an isolated thunderstorm over Nebraska, but most of the moisture is to our southwest. And then that high pressure starts to build in on Monday. That keeps the eastern part of the state a little bit cooler than the western part of the state, so we'll still be in the lower to mid 90s east. We're going to be more in the mid to upper 90s west. Once again, there's that scattered chance of an isolated thunderstorm, primarily across western Nebraska. Now on Tuesday, the ridge starts to really expand toward the east, and we're going to see temperatures statewide above 95 degrees, and we'll see some isolated 100-degree temperatures probably across the southwest and south central part of the state. Precipitation stays up in the Great Lakes, and of course with the monsoonal flow in the southwest. On Wednesday, that ridge expands eastward, so we're going to see another day of temperatures well up into the 95 and above range. Low pressure rides along the South Dakota-Nebraska border and may generate some isolated thunderstorm activity, particularly across the northern tier of counties. Once again, some spotty monsoonal moisture moves up into the central Rockies. On Thursday, this trough starts to deepen a little bit over the Great Lakes. That's going to shove the ridge back a little bit and give us just a slightly cooler trend across the northeastern one half of the state, probably drop our temperatures about 5 degrees. Low pressure once again forms over central Kansas. Most of the precipitation again stays into the desert southwest. And as you'll notice Friday, again, this ridge gets pushed just a little bit farther to the southwest. Low pressure develops in southwestern Kansas, may actually induce some moisture up into our region, and there is a good chance we'll see some thunderstorm activity somewhere from eastern Nebraska through central Iowa. And then on the backside, we see the monsoon moisture riding all the way from the desert southwest up into the Arrowhead region of Minnesota. So overall, we do have a good, decent shot of precipitation, particularly as we get to the end of the next week. The biggest concern going forward is, will this ridge break down? At least from the Climate Prediction Center's forecast from next Thursday through the following Tuesday, they're indicating the core of that high pressure system will be over Nebraska. The latest GFS models I've been seeing really doesn't bring this core heat back until at least 4 or 5 days past this next weekend. In terms of precipitation, most of the major below normal precipitation will be in the southern plains, slightly below normal across the east, but you can see that monsoon moisture starting to make its way into the western part of the state. And this will be an important component, because if this does play out, we may get into a period from the first week of August where we'll deal with scattered thunderstorm activity from the monsoon flow before temperatures start to warm up once again.